Hello, and welcome to the latest in the Cyber Club London series of video recordings, in this case, our portfolio showcase. Cyber Club London is an informal network of approximately 70 CISOs and similarly experienced information security professionals and leaders around the world. We're an investment group that primarily invests in early stage information security, cybersecurity, risk management, and related startups. And one of our objectives is to support and showcase the various companies that we believe in, that we've invested in, and that we as a group think are going to change the industry for the better. Today, we're talking with Ryan Lasmaili. You're going to correct me if I'm pronouncing your last name wrong.
Right.
He's a CEO and co-founder of Vaultree. Vaultree is a European-originated encryption company. We really like Vaultree because they've come up with an encryption SDK that allows basically access and manipulation of data without decrypting. I'm going to let Ryan talk a little bit about the specifics, but we really think that, especially in light of recent massive supply chain attacks, data breaches, and similar incidents, this is filling a tremendous gap in most companies' information security and sensitive data handling posture. And I want to give Ryan a chance to talk a little bit about who they are, where they come from, and what makes them great. So if you want to introduce yourself and Vaultree, I'd welcome that.
Yeah, thanks a lot. I really appreciate that, John. As you mentioned, we are European originated. Irish originated. It started actually all middle of nowhere in Tipperary, and we actually came together as founders quite a few years ago, and been working on solving this problem for over 8 years. But we came together realizing that one specific problem, has still not been solved, and that is exactly why we are seeing still all the plain text data breaches and companies being vulnerable, not being able to work the way they should be in environments with data. So, and that problem specifically is data in plain text. So encryption and use, more specifically. So we have raised our A round just recently in December with amazing investors, including the likes of Sentinel-1, Molten, 1011, and also CCL, who have been working with us since day one, actually, together. Now, in terms of the problem itself, right now we are seeing, up to date, organizations have been educated around encryption at rest and encryption in transit. Now, additionally to that, every single time we start talking about encryption, everyone runs out the door. It's sort of seen as a topic that is reserved for some academics that sit in a bunker somewhere, working on ciphers that are going to be for the next for the quantum period ready. No, that's not the case. Encryption in at rest is only helpful if I break into someone's data center and actually steal the hardware. And encryption in transit, we know what it is. But the biggest problem is every single time we work with data, we have to decrypt it. So all the breaches, ransomware attacks, everything that we see from leaks of an organization are happening in plain text, not in encrypted form. Additionally to that, we can't share data, we can't work with data, we are restricted around sensitive data because it's in plain text. So one of the biggest gaps unsolved to date is actually, and we have solved it, is encryption in use. So searching, computing over encrypted data without ever decrypting it.
So essentially, even though the house is locked, a whole lot of people have the key. In order to get at the house, you're going to have to trust a whole lot of, in this case, functions, applications, etc., which no matter how securely encrypted your sensitive information is,
yeah,
as long as you've got lacking controls anywhere about accessing it and manipulating it and working with it, you're going to have a weak spot. So this is what you guys essentially solve.
Yeah, absolutely. Right now, actually, the case right now is the following. I walk up to your house, right? This is a scenario we have right now with every organization. I walk up to your house. From a far distance, I can see that the door is open. I walk up to the door, and just because I want to, and I can, I look under the flower pot. I see your keys under the flower pot, but the door is already open. I walk right through the door, right? I see a safe from a distance. It's already open. I see some lovely documents in that safe from a distance, and I just take them and I just walk right. This is literally the situation we have right now. The way it should be is I walk up to your house. I have a warrant. I want to get in. You open the door. I show you the warrant. You prove it. You check it. I walked into your house with your approval, up to your safe, and you open it and give me the docs. Really as simple as that. That is not the case. Literally today, everyone has access to anything, and it doesn't matter how many onion layers you add. If your data is in plain text, you cut right through the onion. That's what it is.
I mean, even given strong and increasingly strong regulatory requirements like CCPA in California, GDPR in the EU, you're probably, if you're especially a large organization, but not only, collecting a vast amount of information that even if your customers and end users have agreed to the data collection implicitly or explicitly, it is still covered by data privacy rules, as well as tremendously increased due care rules under regulations such as the NIS2 directive in Europe and other ones, New York State Department of Financial Services rules that require a set of provably implemented controls so you can show, even if there is a breach, well, I did what I could. And we saw this spring a couple of massive, especially in the telecom sector in the US, data breaches, which underline that, okay, maybe the data protection rules aren't as strong as they could be or will be, but there is a vast amount of information out there that is going to land you as a company in trouble if you're not protected or actively.
Absolutely. I mean, everything you just mentioned, if it would happen having encryption in use implemented, all those breaches, the leaks would have been encrypted. It would have been a whole different conversation as an organization saying to its customers and the wider public, hey, you know what? We had a leak. Look, we are fixing the source of it, but don't worry. The data has been encrypted. So, then rather than saying, look, we have no clue whose data is leaked, right? Someone's social security numbers out there, and the impact and the cost to an organization and risk of exposure. It's like you most, from a data standpoint, right? We always describe data as gold, right? Now, would you just hand out gold to the world, or would you want to have it most protected, right? So right now, it's literally not only gold, it's a toxic asset. So ensuring that you have the right encryption technologies in place, especially encryption in use, is going to solve immediately a major problem. But most of all, you can't stop breaches, leaks from that standpoint. Breaches, you're going to redefine that with encryption in use, because technically you're not breached anymore. You have an encrypted leak, but you are changing the game here completely, and also the security strategy of an organization. But what you just mentioned, compliance is only slowly catching up more and more with technology, and thriving alongside compliance is going to become incredibly important to organizations, because they are more and more limited as to what they actually can do with data. Now, if you have your data always encrypted and analyzing data, to give you an idea, we have a company that has data scientists in India with US sensitive data able to train machine learning algorithms in real time over encrypted data, and having data scientists in India work with that sensitive data encrypted. So the thing is, encryption changes the capabilities, breaches how you define a breach now, and how the risk strategy is implemented in an organization. It changes truly the game, yeah.
So when we spoke a bit earlier, you talked about this being not only a preventative control but also a value driver. And when we talk about regulation, as you mentioned, technology is going to increasingly have to coexist with regulatory requirements so it doesn't slow the business down. And the objection is going to be, but encryption is going to prevent me from doing things. It's going to make things harder. So it's not just that your security controls and your tools that implement these controls have to allow businesses to fluidly and flexibly and without impact implement the regulatory requirements, but also prevent negative impact on operational efficiency, and they can't cause more costs. So how do you do that?
Yeah, absolutely. So, like I mentioned before, right, once you start talking encryption, a lot of organizations start running, but that is now changing. So in terms of actually encryption does, especially once you solve a problem, in this case, encryption and use data and use encryption, being able to actually process efficiently encrypted data, full text search and computations without changing the tech stack, without having to do a digital transformation project, and literally just integrating this by, let's say, changing one line of code and having a foundational technology embedded into existing environment is going to immediately reduce costs across the whole stack. To give you an idea, the average cost saving from organizations that we are involved with or talking to, you're talking here a year between 5 to 60 million for some organizations a year. Now, imagine a CISO going back to the CFO and saying, hey, we have this encryption technology. It's going to actually give us back 20 million a year. Now, I don't know which CISO would say
don't tell that, because you use that budget for other things. Because once you tell the CFO, they're not going to give you the money.
Oh yeah,
what is that?
Yeah. Now that could be a secret here, right? That stays between us and CISOs, right? So absolutely. And then the other one is value creation. Now imagine a CISO is going to go back to the business and saying, look, we have now enabled, because of GDPR and let's say these regulations and that regulation, you couldn't do all of this. Now you can do this with encryption and use. You can train AI, machine learning algorithms. You can work with AI models. You can actually analyze over encrypted data. We can build these products you couldn't build before, because now we have the technology in place that actually allows you to do it. Now the CISO is a hero.
You're increasing the breadth of business functions, essentially.
Significantly, yeah. Now, the CISO or CIO, right, whoever is a decision maker in the organization, looks after security, strategy, and implementation, is going to not only become the hero, but is seen as a business driver and business unit in the organization that is not only gobbling up money, right, to implement different layers, but also seen as, hey, we are actually adding value to the organization, not only by reducing risk, but by opening up opportunities. And this is something that is still for us at Vaultree to give to CISOs, especially from an educational perspective, opening the eyes, in other words, still something that is happening. But holy moly, I mean, some of the stuff we are seeing happens if you solve a problem. You solve a problem, it enables opportunities.
So I just want to wrap up with, I do want to emphasize that we really like these guys. I mean, everybody who was involved in the evaluation call when Ryan and his colleagues were presenting was very taken by Vaultree. We also really love the enthusiasm and, again, the understanding of the need to not only solve a technological problem, but also to solve business and legal problems and add opportunity in the meantime, and to do so transparently. If you check out their page, one of the things that we also very much liked is it does not pretend to replace your key management infrastructure, your crypto system. It integrates seamlessly with existing solutions and just makes life easier. So I do want to thank you very much for taking the time today. And I really recommend anybody who's in an organization dealing with large amounts of data, which is everybody right now, really check them out. Have a look at vaultree.com. There's very, very well described use cases, implementation guides, value descriptions, and Ryan and his team are very open to talking with potential customers and stakeholders. I've done quite a couple of introductions recently, and I never felt that there was anything but a strong amount of enthusiasm in following up and really showing why this thing is good. It's obvious that you guys really believe in it as well, which is refreshing. So thanks again. I also want to invite everybody to have a look at us, the cyberclub.london. We have a lot of other really interesting videos with some great startups. Again, this is not just commercial. We really think these are really good companies with good teams that are going to go somewhere. And with that, again, thanks again. I wish you a great business success, technological success. Don't travel too much, and talk to you.
Thanks a lot, John. You can see my suitcase here, so I'll be on the road again. But thanks a lot. Pleasure.